Live. Welcome. I'm so excited. I started to notice that is all I say is I'm so excited, like kind of to everything, but especially here. Um, but yes, welcome to the Innovative Practice Substack Live podcast, YouTube. Like it kind of goes to all the different places. I have a fantastic guest to interview today that we just decided we probably are going to have a tough time narrowing down all the things we could nerd out on in the AI space, probably in the private practice therapy space, and the general what's happening with our world space, all the things, right? I'll introduce myself and then I will jump right into introducing our guest. So I'm Dr. Stephanie Thrower. I am a psychologist. I have a small private practice at the intersection of maternal mental health and vocation. So I talk a lot about babies and caregiving and also work. And I love that. I have also started to work as a coach and a consultant to help people build courses with the help of AI. And that comes with a lot of really cool learning about AI and where courses and expertise and AI mix in together. And maybe sometimes when they shouldn't mix in together. And today, I'm super grateful. I have Uriah Guilford here. He is a licensed therapist and a group practice owner. He is also the author of the Productive Practice book and the head nerd at Productive Therapist, a virtual assistant company that serves therapists in private practice. He is a technology nerd and a minimalist travel packer and a rock drummer. I mean, it really fits well together. And in some ways, I'm like, oh my gosh, totally can nerd out. But the minimalist packing, I just started to exit the scene. I just couldn't.
That's funny. Yeah, I do get quite enthusiastic and obsessive about minimalist travel packing. And I just got back from a family vacation to Europe with my wife and my two daughters. And I'm very proud to say that we did about 15, 16 days in Europe with only carry-on, roller bag suitcases and then a small personal item. So I've trained them well, and we did fine. We did great. We even bought quite a few clothing items there and stuffed them in the suitcase and brought them home.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun to travel light and kind of explore more and have some adventures. It's kind of a metaphor for other things too, but it works.
Oh my God. I know. Yes, this is an area well, speaking of courses, I think this is probably a course you need to make for me.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Because I literally my brain just starts and I'm like, I can't. The decision overwhelm of what needs to be, what could be, what FOMO world I'm living in terms of clothing.
It is a real challenge to figure out how to not take the things you don't need and just focus on what's most essential, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And commit to it, right? Yeah.
For sure. The reality is that you can buy just about anything in most countries that you go to. So, and we actually had a lot. This is totally off topic, so I apologize. But we actually had quite a bit of fun because I told my daughters who love to thrift. They love to go to thrift stores and find cool, fun, funky items for their fashion sense. And so I was like, hey, bring a little bit less than you want to bring. And we're going to do some thrifting on this trip. And we did some amazing thrifting in London and then also in Krakow in Poland, funny enough. And we all ended up buying things at these thrift stores that were really cool and that you probably couldn't find maybe in the US. I don't know.
No.
And so that was kind of a fun little adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's kind of the opposite of I think when people think about minimalist packing, and I know we're going to find a way to weave this in because this is just our brain. But I think we have the scarcity reaction immediately happens, right? You're taking away the things from me. And so, yeah, you guys were able to go and actually find super thoughtful things that you probably couldn't have found. Yeah. Amazing.
I'll make a connection, Stephanie. How about this? So when it comes to AI for your practice and for your business, you don't need to use every single tool that is recommended, and you don't need to do every single thing that you hear other people are doing. Just focus on the things that are most important and the things that are going to get you where you want to go. Because truly, none of us can do it all. Even the enthusiasts, the nerds like you and I, and some other people that we know, it's just impossible, right? So focus on the things that are most important that actually align with your goals, and that will, I think, help narrow it down.
What do you think gets in the way of not focusing? Because I completely agree.
Hmm.
And I'm totally stuck in a list of maybe 10 things I want to be doing or learning in AI, right?
Yeah.
Or like you get a little bit of like I don't know. I don't know if it's shame, but it's like, oh, they're connecting all of their MCPs to the doodly, right?
Yes. Right. Right. A little bit of like AI envy, maybe something like that, right? Like I
Yeah.
should be doing it like this person or that person. I have that too for sure. I think it's kind of like going to Target because you need to buy toothpaste, and then you find like there's just a gazillion options for everything. Even when you finally get to the toothpaste aisle, you're like, what in the world do I choose? So I think that's part of it, like the overwhelming amount of options, and it depends on if folks how much inbound information they have about AI, like how many newsletters they're subscribing to, Substacks, et cetera. Because if you're like me and you listen to a lot of different people talking about different things, you always feel like you're not doing enough or you're not doing the right things. But that ends up not being helpful, right? It's like, here's the best thing that I can tell folks listening and that I tell my consulting clients and the folks that use our services is like, let's start with the problem. Like, what is your biggest challenge? And then we'll figure out a solution, whether it be AI or something else. I think that's a better way to start versus like, oh my gosh, look at all the different things that I can do. And then you end up wasting time not focusing on your actual core, like essential responsibilities or goals.
Well, even in, I think part of what we don't learn, which is fine because we were trying to become therapists, but what we don't learn is that a therapist business isn't the most complicated business you could have, right?
For sure.
And it feels complicated when you first start it, or when you jump in, because a lot of the business stuff was like away from you in the process. Um, but even so, I work with a lot of therapists who are wanting to do coaching or build courses, and yes, you add some more complexity, but we're still not at like corporate business structures of
Right.
workflow, right? And I think that a lot of the solutions are probably not, it's not helpful for them to be complicated, right?
Yeah, simplicity is a little bit more of a challenge, but that's what most of us need. And like, I'm speaking as I'm saying this out loud. I'm like, yeah, I need to listen to my own advice. But yeah, it really is helpful to figure out just the tools you need and just the use cases that you actually need. And I personally like to tie it back to like I'm a big planner, right? So like I'm always writing down annual goals, quarterly goals, and then tying my daily tasks to those things. And as you might expect, I'm a bit of a productivity nerd as well. But I like to look through that lens of like, okay, what are the most important three goals that I have for this quarter, for this 90 days? And if I learn about a new AI tool or a new way to use a new AI tool, like I just saw this morning, I logged into my computer and Claude said, hey, guess what? Our newest model, Fable 5, is available, right? Do you want to try it now? I was like, ooh. But that was so far from the most important thing for me to do today. I had some emails I needed to respond to coming back from vacation and some various different things I needed to do. So I said, no. I mean, I think that's probably the best skill you can have is say no to most of the things, and the things that are truly important, go deep on those and find somebody that can teach you how to do it in the way that is important for your business use case. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like feels very therapist-y of me, but had a conversation with my therapist, and one week we were like, okay, I'm gonna create a good enough marketing plan,
Yeah.
which as therapists we know it's like the good enough parenting, right?
Right.
This is a good enough plan because that space we can get like when things aren't flowing the way we want them to, or we're just not reaching those goals, we start to pivot so much in these plans.
Hmm.
And then we never can test anything, and that's kind of the whole point of marketing, right? Is to be able to
Yeah.
test what's working. Yeah.
Good
Um,
enough. That I like that
Good
phrase
enough.
very much.
Yeah.
In my book, The Productive Practice, shameless plug,
Yes.
there's 3 sort of, pillars of a productive practice, and the second one is about organization, and I literally titled it, like, "Good Enough Organization," because you just need, for example, you just need to have your file structure organized enough, or your SOPs, like, pulled together enough for people to know what they need to do, for you to know what you need to do, and how to find that one file that you need for the thing that you're trying to accomplish. So it doesn't have to be perfect, far from it. It just needs to be good enough to be usable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get here? How did you
I
go
have
from
no
being
idea. No.
just here? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a therapist by training, as the bio suggests. I'm still a licensed marriage and family therapist here in California. I stopped seeing clients about 5, almost 6 years ago, because I was growing my group practice. And then somewhere in the journey of growing my group practice, I had a problem of basically needing part-time admin support, specifically to handle the intake, incoming calls and emails, new inquiries into the practice. So I sort of accidentally started a virtual assistant business doing that same thing for myself and for my friends and colleagues. So that was actually 9 years ago, which is pretty insane to think about. And then, yeah, somewhere along the path, I discovered that I actually love business and technology even more than psychology and direct services. And so that's kind of like how I found the love that I have for what we do at Productive Therapists, because it's still very much in the mental health space, and it's assisting therapists and helping them essentially get their life back, right? Like I wanted for myself, overwhelmed therapist trying to grow a group practice, doing absolutely everything, and then trying to figure out how to delegate and get to the place where I could actually take a vacation and also still show up for my team and for my clients. So it's been a fun, interesting journey that I would have never predicted or expected. And then in the last couple of years, discovering AI and my interest in automation and technology and business systems, there's all just kind of come to this beautiful point where I'm genuinely having the most fun of my career. So much so that I'm shutting down my group practice this month, actually.
Are you serious?
And I
Oh
am,
my
yeah.
gosh.
I literally need to go there tomorrow and figure out what to do with the rest of the couches.
Oh my gosh.
So 10 years I've done that, and that's ending this month, which is I've already processed it emotionally for the
I
most
know. I'm
part.
like, should we talk
Um,
right now? Yeah.
yeah, it has been hard to let go of my identity as a group practice owner, and even as a working therapist, and then embrace some new identities as head nerd and AI enthusiast and all those things. So yeah, that's kind of like a medium length version of the story, but it's been very fun, and still my passion from at least 10 years ago has been to help other therapists like succeed in life and work, not just work, but also life, because we believe that, like, as a therapist, you deserve to have a business and a life that you love, that you can take care of your clients and your team without sacrificing your own mental health. And that's what it's all about.
So cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. So many questions, but I think yeah, what big moment of change you're about to go through. Like
it really is.
you have been going through and pushing forward and expanding into so many different vocational, I don't know, areas. I talk about being a vocational psychologist, and people
Yeah,
start to go to sleep immediately because
that sounds interesting to me.
yeah, I know one. But yeah, I think so much of, like, in an ideal world, our work would help us connect with purpose just on a regular
Hmm.
basis, because that just helps us as humans, right? It helps our
Oh
mental
yeah.
health, and we see that. We know that when retirement is around the corner, people are at
Hmm.
risk for depression, right? Where there's, or if they have periods of underemployment, the mental health component related to that is bigger than just the finances. But
Absolutely.
then there's a survival finances piece, right? That's always there. Um, and we don't talk enough about that. And that is changing so much in our world, right? Of who am I and what
Yeah.
do I do, right?
like the services of, I've never heard vocational psychologist, so I'm intrigued by that, but the
Yeah.
services of a vocational psychologist will be needed like exponentially more when unemployment rises, because AI is doing so much of the work that needs to be done, and humans will at some point have a crisis of meaning of like, well, I don't need to work, or I don't need to do anything. How do I find purpose? And all those kinds of things. Hopefully that won't happen super fast. I don't think it will. But that's an interesting topic to consider.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have a lot of legitimate work anxiety around the corner. We
It's
headed in a different
rising.
it's
It's
rising.
rising. Yeah.
And I think so much of what you're talking about too is actually you're providing vocational support for
Mhm.
therapists, right? Is helping them stay in the game, helping them have
Yeah.
right have practices where they can provide services and stay connected to it, right? Because we know the risk of burnout is just
Mhm.
inevitable. I guess
Mhm.
I would say that word, right? I mean, I feel like when I was in training, I sort of just expected that burnout would come in waves. I don't know what your experience was of burnout.
Never thought about it. I don't know. Nobody ever talked to me about burnout and how to like manage a career long term in the mental health industry. No, I definitely reached burnout like at 28, you know, teenage boy client sessions in a week. I was like, I don't think I can do this. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Because I mean, that was my specialty and I was very good at it and I really enjoyed it. But a lot of those guys come into my office, they didn't want to be there. And so, I had to do a decent amount of work to get them motivational interviewing and to get them on board with some sort of plan of moving forward. Anyways, um,
Yeah, you're like, so you never want to be happy? It's like,
I yeah, I think I was actually really pretty ninja at that, to be honest, but
I
but
bet.
it but it definitely it became, it was hard, and working with the parents and all that kinda stuff. Um, I don't know where I was going with that, talk about talking about burnout, but, I think life is ultimately very kind of short, and so, like, we should be able to love our work. Work is hard, and it's not that's not gonna change, but if you don't wake up liking what you get to do today, then I think you should absolutely make a change. And I know there's a lot of therapists that are, making changes, especially since the pandemic, right? Whether that's going into coaching or doing something completely different, or moving from one-on-one work to intensives, or any number of things. But I think if you're not excited about what you're doing and optimistic about, where your career is going, I think you should make a change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that in the space where you work and support people is about, hey, wait, before you totally make the change, is there something we can do or even if people are more, I think I do find therapists vocationally are able to think out a little bit and be like, maybe
Hmm.
I don't want to be burnt out, right? And so how
Yeah.
am I, we preach a lot of like prevention efforts, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering, yeah, people are reaching out to you saying, how can this actually be enjoyable long term?
Hmm.
How can
Hmm.
I keep up with this? What are my different ways I can support? Tell me a little bit about, I've been talking in the last couple of interviews or some of them about systems. And I
Yeah.
do think that some of our brains might not be totally set up to think about processes and systems and
Right.
automations, right? It sounds like your brain was like ready to go with that.
I don't know, I came to it at some point.
Yeah.
I think, like, it's either because I'm very ambitious or because I'm rather lazy that I try to figure out how to, like, delegate and automate. For years, I've been talking about the 3 keys to productivity. I don't know if you've heard this. I didn't make this up, by any means, but the 3 keys to productivity are eliminate, automate, and delegate, right? So, like, anything that you don't need to be doing, truly, take it off of your task list, take it off of your calendar, eliminate it, just remove it, right? And for some therapists, that might be, posting on social media or any number of things that you're doing that are not really helpful. So eliminate is number one, and then delegate is number two. So anything that you can pay someone else to do, where you're paying them less than you make per hour, let's say, right? So just to use the example, like if you hire one of our intake coordinators, our virtual intake coordinators, to respond to all the emails and call folks back and get them scheduled and get them rescheduled, handling all those back office tasks, you as the practice owner, if you have a group practice, you definitely shouldn't be doing that for very long, right? And we even work with some solo practice owners that are just incredibly busy. So they see like 20, 30 or more clients per week. And maybe they're teaching their professor at a local college, or they're also doing coaching or online courses. And so we handle that for them. So delegating is huge. That's really the only way that I was able to go to Europe for like 16 days. And literally, like, we did have some things happen. I'll be honest with you. We did have some things happen. I had to jump in and do a couple things. But for the most part, most days, like, my team was handling everything. And that, to me, like, that feels like success, right? Because my vision, my mission is bigger than just Uriah. And I've got people around me who have come on board to, help me accomplish that. It's pretty cool. And then automation is the last one. And like, the funny thing about that one is I've been talking about this for years. And up until recently, automating things in your private practice was kind of like, just figure out what your EHR can do and turn those features on, like auto pay to charge credit cards overnight. Like, it wasn't that exciting, to be honest. And then now the amount of things that we can actually automate with using AI, right? Securely, safely, in a HIPAA compliant fashion is really pretty astounding. So that's exciting.
Yeah. And I think that it's, I think it's super, it's like, it has become kind of a sexy word, especially in the space of like, what is an agent, right? Which feels like we get a lot of funny definitions out. Well, we just get a lot of different AI definitions out there. But automation, I think that is one of the areas where it's like, oh, I feel like I have to already have these automations set up. But we haven't gone to the first step of what you just said, right?
Right.
I think having clarity on what can be eliminated, what can be delegated, and there's quite a few decision points on those two pieces, right? Before automation can be not break, really.
Yeah, it's easier to talk about and dream about, like, automating things in your business than it is to actually implement it, because I can think of several different examples where we created some automations for a practice and then immediately it went like the worst case scenario happened. Because you have to do it in a really intelligent, thoughtful way, obviously, right? And so, yeah, you want to be very, like, thoughtful and intentional about that for sure. And I think there's a lot to be said for things that don't scale, doing things that don't scale as well. So I think we want to keep the human element and the human touch in the work that we do. But when you do eliminate the things that are unnecessary and you do delegate as much as you can, then I think it makes sense to look at automation and figure out how AI can help you out with that, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that there's a learning curve of being a good overseer. Is that the right word?
That sounds so like sci-fi. Like,
doesn't it?
Overseer.
What's your job? I'm an overseer.
Yeah, I babysit AI, basically, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it feels like Lord Overseer is probably the word. Yeah, I think that in a lot of our ventures into business, if our expertise is somewhere else, and we can just nerd out on how DBT and CBT are different things, right? Like, we can do these things. But when we jump into the world of business, I think that we are doing a lot of novel stuff pretty quickly, right? Like, it's like, oh wait, what is copywriting? Why is it like this? Why are you trying to use people's pain points, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, are we supposed to have a different angle, right? So yeah, I think that there is kind of some space of just like not knowing for a while not having a clear map of what should be eliminated, what should be delegated, right?
Yeah. And what's possible.
And what's possible. And I think in AI, so in my program, I have tried to build, I do work with a lot of busy people. And so we're thinking about where either a VA or AI can help create some of this stuff, right? Whether it's setting up the back end for the course, doing some marketing, building out a website, it's kind of deciding like who do we want doing what. And
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes that frame of being like, you need all these things, right? I feel like that must be a conversation you might have too of like, well, we want to make sure we have some of these systems in place first before we decide like what the
Yeah.
perfect sequence is for them,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And what you're saying there makes me think about the process of delegating is now deciding which tasks or projects are ideal for your human team or contractors and which tasks and projects are ideal for AI. And I've been actually going through that because I've been working on refining and streamlining my sort of marketing efforts for productive therapist and to be honest, trying to figure out how much I can automate with AI and then get my human team to do the rest and who like what goes where, right? Because AI can do so much. If I don't know if you want to talk about courses or not, but I've been building courses for many years,
I would love to
and
talk about courses.
oh my gosh, I kind of wish I was still building courses just because like the things that you can do are just outstanding.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I had to obviously write every word, record every video, and then I worked with a graphic designer because I wanted my visuals to be better than like I could do. So I had that whole waiting process of getting my idea to the graphic designer and then getting back the proofs and then giving feedback, and that whole thing. And then having to figure out how to build the platforms or like tweak the platforms to actually put out the course content. It's just so much work. Oh my goodness. And all those things can be done so much faster and so brilliantly using AI while retaining your own voice and your own, the uniqueness of what you bring to the content, whatever it is, because everybody can like get information from AI. It's not about that. But yeah, it's just for the creative entrepreneur, it's like a dream.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like I was like, do I call myself the digital course dork? Like, is that a bad brand? But
I
no,
like it.
I will talk about courses all day. But yeah, I think in one of my smaller offers, it's called the Pocket Course Lab, just trying
Yeah.
to make a mini course, which I think that the concept of mini courses did not do well before because, or they were hard because you had to build everything you built in a course
Hmm. Hmm.
and make it small. And so it wasn't like you ever really saved money or time because you still had to build all the pieces.
Interesting.
And now we're at a place where in the Pocket Course Lab, I actually built the portal for it too. So there's
Hmm.
no back end, right? I'm not like in
Right.
Kajabi. I actually just coded it with Base 44 and
Yeah.
it's got the videos in it and the handouts and all the stuff.
That's
And
amazing.
so, yeah, people can create these little pocket courses, which are doing extremely well. If you followed the Yap challenge, I just joined we just started yesterday. Yeah, they're like,
That's so cool.
they're
I think short courses are awesome. The last course that I did create was a little while ago, um, but I made it so it could be completely started, from start to finish, completed in under 60 minutes, and literally all the videos are like 2 to 6 minutes. So I like that. I mean, obviously our attention spans are less than they used to be, right? But the reality is that you can get, sorry, you can
I
get.
know it goes dark and then you're like, oh my gosh,
I
where
was like,
did I
I thought my computer
go?
just crashed. Yeah.
No.
But you can get a lot of information to someone very quickly, and
Yeah.
you don't need to, like, put a lot of extra stuff in there, and nobody wants to watch a 45-minute video unless it's, like, the most intriguing thing that they've ever seen, you know? Um,
So much of courses, so much of teaching anything, right, is about blocking other distractions at this point. And so if
Definitely.
you can shorten it up, right, then that's like a way. I think I'm like, if people listen to our interview, it will be a blessing of attention, right? Like of giving us like so much
29 minutes
time.
in, yeah.
Oh my gosh, like, oh gosh, right? What a gift. But it's, when people can sit and listen to things and be doing other things, that's helpful. But I think when we're watching online, we just have the other tabs competing, right?
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So one thing I wanted to jump to, which I'm sure we can find a cool way to, or just even jump right in, but
Yeah.
I am very curious about some of the tools that you're creating in for practice. I think you're creating a lot for yourself too, but also I think I don't totally understand sometimes like the intake process or the AI voice or the chatbots. Like, what are you doing for practices that help smooth that process? Because I conceptually know it, but don't have one myself. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I think I
How does this
understand
work?
it.
Yeah. So from day one of Productive Therapists, we've been getting the same question, and practice owners want to know, do we do live answer? They want to know if my team will pick up the phone when it rings and talk to the person that's looking for a therapist and connect them with a therapist. And like in the very early days, we actually tried to do that. We said, sure, we will do that. Like whenever possible, our team will pick up the phone and talk to the potential client that's reaching out to your practice and see if we can get them scheduled. It turns out it doesn't work with our model because we have shared virtual assistants. So like one virtual assistant can be working with 2 or 3 practices at a time. So essentially they're just like, it just didn't work. So we would refer folks to like a virtual call center, or that was really the main option. But we tried to like tell people like live answer is amazing, but it's kind of expensive and you don't really need it to we just want to respond to folks faster. And so that's always been our challenge, is like figuring out how can we help practices respond to people who are reaching out faster. And so last year, long story short, when I started demoing various different voice AI agents, I started to realize, wow, these are getting really good. They're very conversational. They can have a back and forth conversation. It doesn't sound like you're just talking to a voicemail system or like a phone tree, and they can adapt to wherever the conversation goes. And then I started to try to figure out like, well, how can we do this for therapists in a HIPAA compliant way? And I just couldn't figure it out, to be honest. And then eventually I did realize that there was a specific tool that we could customize and provide to therapists that would be, yes, HIPAA compliant and would handle crisis call situations. We could customize it and make it really work well for the intake process of a therapy practice. And so we actually launched that to like some beta testers last September. And then that's actually part of a fully featured intake CRM, or a client relationship manager software that essentially can help manage the entire intake process, which is awesome. Everything from the contact form to, let's say, a chat bot that's on the website, to AI receptionist answering the phone, and all those inquiries funneling into one place where the practice owner or the intake coordinator can visually kind of see where people are and see what they need and respond to them. So it's like a whole system, basically, right? The AI receptionist just being sort of the front end of it. And so we figured that out, and we started beta testing it, and then we've been doing that for about 9-10 months now.
Amazing. And people are liking it.
Yes. Yes, and I'm happy to share with you and with the folks listening what's working and what's not working. But it definitely solves the problem of speed to lead. That's a very businessy kind of term, but like, basically we figured out, this is not new information at all, but like the faster you respond to someone, the more likely they will be to become a client. And like if you respond in 1 minute, 391% higher conversions, some studies say. So it's ridiculously high. So now we can respond immediately within seconds versus hours or days. But the reality is that not everybody likes talking to the AI agents, and some people get frustrated with them. And so there's definitely some bumps in the process there. But our goal with that is to help them help that human, that potential client, connect faster with an intake coordinator and then with a therapist. So we're trying to just facilitate the human connection in a faster way.
Yeah. And it sounds like trying to experiment and make it better as you go along, which I think that there can be such a strong reaction to AI right now that I find fascinating as a psychologist. Like I was thinking the other day, I'm sure you've seen Jurassic Park, but I was thinking the other day when Jeff Goldblum, when they're in the car and he talks about like chaos there. He talks about how life finds a way. And I think that there's something very interesting about watching humans react to AI. Humans trying to understand what is human, what is
Mm-hmm.
not, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
historically, we've done such differentiation from animals that we are, like that we are some superior, right? And it's just such a fascinating process of us trying to figure out
It really is.
as we approach something that has such sophisticated language, all of our reactions. But it sometimes feels like we can be in the therapist space of like it's just like nah, it's a no right off the bat,
Right, right. Like knee-jerk reaction against it, yeah. And
Yeah,
I
and
think like that makes sense, and I understand the complexity of what we're experiencing as mental health professionals and sort of the backlash or whatever you want to call it. It makes sense to me, but also I just think that there's a middle ground, right? There are ways to implement these things in safe and reasonably secure ways, and ways that are client centered, really. At the end of the day, and here's the thing too: like if you I'll just talk to you. If you were to implement an AI receptionist in your coaching business or your counseling business, and people complained and they didn't like it, guess what? You just turn it off
yeah,
and you stop doing it. Um, so I think some of these things are worth using and testing to try to see if we can make the client experience better. But what we don't want to do is create a frustrating or an annoying experience by any means.
yeah.
That's the opposite of what the goal is. We want to make it easier, more streamlined, because we really just want to help people get the help that they need.
Absolutely. I think in the space of coaching and especially in courses, I'm thinking about, well, what is the most empathetic tool I could create for someone? Not being like,
Mm.
oh, I want
Mhm.
to validate emotion, but being like, if I want to save time for my students, it should be helpful to have a GPT that can tell them where
Right.
everything is and where a
Right.
link, like the most simple thing to help people have a conversation with, or if someone really wanted to get good at their sales calls, like let's
Mhm.
create practice environments to do that where it's not as judgmental or scary, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I think that there's ways to elevate what we're offering. And I think in that space, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to elevate the business's service to say, like, hey, we care. We
Mhm.
want to hear, right? We know that we actually want to jump on your motivation and get you into therapy because we know it's a good thing, not because we're trying to sell you bad water or something, right?
For
Like,
sure.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah, and we know that people's motivation kind of tanks when they're
Mhm.
not responded to, and it can last like years where people are like, well, I
No,
tried.
it's true. Yeah, and I always think about, like, the level of ambivalence that most people have about therapy, even if it's like a parent of a teenager who has genuine pain points, and but there's this whole cycle, this whole thing that happens, and, most people, if they could get around it, they would not do therapy. I don't know, that might be an unpopular opinion as from a
No,
therapist, but I
no.
think, like, there's a lot of things that we crave and desire, but they're generally not therapy. Although we do want to evolve and grow as people and all those kind of things. But um, so yeah, I think the ambivalence is strong. So if people are reaching out, that is a moment of decision and a moment of like maximum motivation. So we want to be there when they reach out as much as possible.
And from a technical standpoint, the CRM you have created, is it a Go High Level CRM or is it your own?
Yeah,
Yeah. And so
it
you
is
have created your own label
correct.
CRM, and you have created it in a way that it's HIPAA compliant, which is its own different
Hmm.
kind of branch in the Go High Level, but you have customized it for the group practice needs
Exactly.
and process. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've basically baked in like our 9 years of best practices and our experience into the CRM and into also building the agents and making, configuring how they work and how we kind of connect the components together. Um, and it's honestly like most practices, certainly most solo practices don't need something this complex. There are other options out there. I think in our product is called Simple Intake, and people can check it out at simpleintake.ai. And but I think it's really amazing to have an intake CRM for a medium to large group practice, even a small group practice if they're intent on growing, right? Because it can do so many things, and we can build so many different automations that are super helpful and make your human intake coordinator make their life better and make them a lot more efficient. So I think it's a great offering. There are other options out there too, of course. This is just the one that we personalized and created. We think it's amazing. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah, I mean, and I also think the other component we had someone we had Tracy on a couple weeks ago, and she talked about how Google likes when people can have 24 hours responding to calls, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's kind of understanding why we might have some of these from a business standpoint. Why do we have these in place? To why is it worth testing a voice
Right.
bot, right? Is to
Right.
see, okay, well, this actually might give a signal to say to our Google business profile that we are always available, right?
Always open for business. Yeah.
Always open. Absolutely. And just like curious, so when you have a CRM, you have a different EHR. Because I feel like a lot of in my brain as a
Hmm.
solo actor, like a simple practice wants to say it can do everything, right? And but yeah, it's not a CRM. So I wonder, it's an interesting piece. How do you fit
Right.
those together?
Yeah. So the simple intake, for example, as a CRM is not trying to replace the EHR. They are
Mhm.
two different tools that really have two different purposes. EHR is obviously for all the clinical care that happens, and I don't need to explain what an EHR does. And then the CRM is for basically, I think of it like sales and customer service. We don't usually use the word sales, but like essentially intake and client care, ongoing, and communication with clients. So Simple Practice, as an example, does have they kind of have some light CRM features, right? And they're pretty decent. Like as a solo practice, you can get just about everything done that you need to get done there. They're not. I doubt that they're ever going to introduce like, yeah, a receptionist or like an AI chatbot. That's not really wouldn't really make sense for them. So yeah, they are two separate tools, and unfortunately, at this time, they don't talk to each other. And in the future, they likely will, but as far as like HIPAA compliance and moving PHI around, um, but the real roadblock is that like these smaller, I call them smaller EHR companies, don't have an open API, so they don't give API access for other tools to integrate and talk to their tools, right? So that's kind of the roadblock. It's not that big of a problem, to be honest. There's a little bit of manual stuff that needs to happen in terms of like everything that happens with the intake process in the CRM. And then when they actually sign up to become a client, then they have to be manually created in the EHR. But it's not too bad.
No. Yeah, and I think that it's I I feel like in this space where AI and technology is moving at lightning speed, and it sort of feels like the Wild West. Like sometimes having some manual blockers between systems can be
Hmm.
helpful,
Hmm.
even if it's just like I was talking with someone today about like how to preserve their if they're doing all telehealth, like how do we know when AI is not involved, right? I reached out to a long time or not that long ago talking about how to use Claude Cowork and code in my
Right.
desktop that has
Right.
all my EHR stuff, and how I think there's a way to do some of the co-work stuff, but it
Hmm.
gets really tricky when you're starting to go in the terminal or even just my browser, right? Is like the Ask Gemini thing pops up, right? It's like, how do I know? Even though, like, it just feels like it's hard to know sometimes. Are you fully doing all the things to protect HIPAA stuff?
Yeah, it
Which
is.
is its own conversation, its
Yeah,
own
and gosh, the
conversation.
reality is that nothing is secure and safe online. Like it just isn't. Like if you really want to be like protect your client's information, you would put it on paper and then you would put it in a folder and you put it in a locked like cabinet and then you would lock the door like old school, right?
Yeah.
But there, obviously, we can manage risk and we can, check the boxes for HIPAA compliance and be very, very careful about those things for sure. Um, what I was going to mention is that hopefully this connects to what we're talking about. But have you heard about Gemini Spark? That's
Yes.
a new thing that Google is coming out with. I'm pretty excited about that because the awesome thing about if you use Google Workspace for your practice, I think a lot of therapists do, at least a lot of the ones
Yeah.
that we work with. When you sign the BAA, the Business Associates Agreement with Google, you can use not all, but you can use quite a few of their tools with PHI, with client information, including, Google Drive and email, with some caveats, of course. But
Mhm.
you can actually use their Gemini AI model, and it's HIPAA compliant. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. And Gemini Spark is basically their answer to Claude Cowork, where it's going to be able to do things automatically on a schedule without your computer being turned on or anything like that. So, and I think, hopefully those options will be available for therapists, and we can essentially, you can keep all of your client information in your Google sort of sphere, if you will. And I'm kind of excited to test that out.
I know. I mean, and that goes back to our long list of things we are excited to
I
learn
know.
and
I
test,
know.
right?
Somebody make it stop.
And we're just gonna have like a minimalist packer mindset, and we're gonna
Yeah. You got to set some barriers, some limitations,
yes, you can pack the things you want, but not you just not everything. You can't have
Yeah.
everything.
No, you can't. Yeah. And as I don't know if we're wrapping up, but I think, like, if people are listening to this or just catching little bits of it, I think it depends on your level of interest, right? Because if you're an enthusiast and you just know it, then, like, watch all the YouTube videos, buy the courses, like, join our masterminds.
Do
um,
it.
but if you are the kind of therapist that's like, I know that this is important and I don't want to be left behind. I hate to say it like that, but, like, I want to be on board with this, then just set some time aside and learn a little bit at a time. And obviously they can do it by reading your Substack, by following my email newsletter, find a trusted person or a couple people that you can listen to. Just do a little bit at a time. Just like you would, like, continue education, sign up for the things that are interesting to you, and learn as you go.
Yeah, and I think for me, which I assume I'm gonna guess you're that way too, is I'm wanting people to learn about how to use AI without even knowing it. So
Mm,
most of the time I will have like after we have our conversation, I do a reflection article, which just is like the things that kind of get stuck in my head. But then I
right.
have reflection prompts for the human, and then I have AI prompts for them to take and do something with it. And I find that is the kind of the even in my course building, I think people walk away learning a ton about how to use AI, but that's not totally 100% the point. Like, I do teach them how to create tools, but
Hmm.
the whole point is to create an amazing course or a
Yeah.
signature like ecosystem, and along the way to see where AI can help them individually based on their vocational profile. Like, how can I fly through this when I know I might get stuck, or how can I connect with my people on what they need to what tool do they need to know right at that one point, so that
Oh
they
yeah.
don't just quit the process, right? um
Yeah. How can you make
yeah.
it fun? How can you make it easy? I think those are good
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
Well, and I think that I think about for you with being a productive therapist, right? Like, there's probably so many AI prompts that might be helpful for people just to think about,
Hmm.
like, what systems do I even need? What
Yeah.
who when and how do I understand when I need to eliminate, delegate, and
Right.
automate, right? Because I think that's like there's some steps in the way, right? So maybe you should start building a quick course.
Yeah. That's funny.
Sorry.
Right. I mean, I know not everybody has done this, but I feel like I've been using AI long enough that I've, like, created new neural pathways, right? So, like, when I'm stuck or I'm confused or I don't know what to do, or in any given situation, I kind of just go chat with my AI tools. I mostly use Claude, but I use Gemini quite a bit too. But I
I
have my
do.
Claude set up in a way that it knows everything about my business and all those kinds of things. So, like, I just talk to it, like, a lot. you know, and it will even, like, give me direction on what I should focus on, what I should not. And I've programmed Claude to know. It actually stops me when I give it ideas. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm thinking about doing this. And it literally says, shiny object, Uriah, don't do it, because your goals are this, this, and this, and your values are this, and you need to focus on this. And don't forget that your daughter's going away to college and you need to, so it actually is properly coaching me.
Oh
And
my
that, I find that
gosh.
very helpful. Yeah.
I need to do that. I think it's
Yeah.
already, I mean, it has done it already without
Uh-huh.
prompting, but I'm just, Yeah, I have, and it's so interesting. So I have almost, I don't know if this is, it's almost like the neural pathway of consulting, right?
Hmm.
I now have a habit of just pulling up my phone and recording. And sometimes, and usually I take that recording, that transcript, and bring it to Claude and have it
Yeah,
analyzed and take, but sometimes I don't. And like, it's just the process of
interesting.
talking out loud
Yeah,
that is what we do in therapy. That
yeah,
is, I
yeah.
mean, it is much more powerful and different. Well, it's not more powerful. It's just different than when another
Hmm.
person's there being like,
Hmm.
shiny object, right? But I think that the process of like communicating and verbally and getting it out and not just like spinning or
Yeah,
scrolling, I think has become,
it's so helpful.
yeah,
It's so helpful, and like just from the on the level of like business strategy or just making decisions, deciding what to focus on, like to tie it back into what we were talking about, like what to eliminate. You can definitely go to Claude or to Gemini and say like, "Hey, take a look at my calendar this week or the next 3 weeks or the last 3 weeks, and tell me what's going on. What I need. I feel like I'm drowning, right? Like, tell me what to focus on or what I can eliminate." Like you can have those kinds of conversations and give it access to whatever you want to give it access to. I did an interesting experiment a couple months ago where beginning of this year I got really into like journaling. I was journaling every day, just my thoughts, and I would put like all my kinds of business ideas and then also personal reflections and all kinds of things into my paper journal, right? And then the first of the month, every month, I would go and take pictures of all my journal entries, and I would dump them into Steve the Business Coach, which was my project. And I would say like, take a look at all my journal entries and tell me what you see and help me figure out what's going on. And it's like, well, Uriah, you're making a lot of emotional decisions based on how you're feeling about your life and your work. And it was really helpful. And I mean, not everybody would want to put that much personal information into any AI tool, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. And it was awesome.
yeah. And I think it's like, yeah, I mean, there's so many pieces. Again, this is where we're going to struggle to wrap ourselves up. But
I
yes,
know.
I think we probably have tips for days on how
For
to
days.
for days for how to use AI and how not to use it sometimes. But I just want to say thank you for
Yeah.
coming on. This has just been such a lovely conversation. And yeah, I would love to have you back on at some point.
I appreciate the
Once
opportunity anytime.
once you are, I'm trying to get your eye on Substack too, which I'm sure we can just like root that into Claude, figure it
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, but it would be it would be awesome to have you back. Thank you so much.
Definitely, and we could do an episode that's a little more focused too. But hopefully this long meandering conversation is super interesting to some folks. I'm sure it is because we're interesting people.
Yeah, which is so.
Terribly interesting.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good recovery from your vacation
Thanks.
or
Thanks so
return. I
much.
don't know if recovery what the word is, but it's like
I'm recovering.
reintegration.
Reintegration, that's the ticket. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again.
All right. Bye.
Bye.